to Convince Me podcast, where we are on a mission to convince you to step out of your gaming comfort zone and try something new. So, with that said, let's get to convincing. Last week, I tried to convince Darren to play a game I finished called The Gunk. I think you were semi-interested, if I recall, Darren. I think the idea of the environmental storytelling and what the game was, the banter between the two characters, might have piqued your interest just a tad, especially because of how short it was. Darren tried to convince me to play Skull and Bones, the first ever and probably last ever quadruple A game. And I gotta say, after he broke down what it was, I don't know that I was fully convinced, unfortunately. Nice try,
Hey,
you.
but I did fine being unbiased about it.
That's fair. Ubisoft tried.
That was about as impartial to a Ubisoft game as I'll ever probably be.
This episode is a our second episode of Convince Me Versus, where we have a special guest that I will introduce in just a second. And the guest's job is to choose one of the games that we convince them to play. And the game I will be convincing our guest of is called Donut County, published by Annapurna, who are known for making games such as What Remains of Edith Finch, Sayonara Wild Hearts, and Outer Wilds. And it was developed by Ben Esposito, who was responsible for Neon White and Bubsy 3D. Good old Bubsy. Darren, you will be convincing our guest to try Entwined. And we will talk more about that when we get to that segment. Before we do that, we're going to introduce our guest with us today. Could you please state your name and how you're doing?
I'm Brandy. I feel pretty good. Saturday before work actually officially starts, so excited, haunting, but
Yeah, new school year. So our guest, Brandy, is works in a school, not necessarily a teacher per se, but she is someone that my wife and I met back in 2013, 2012, 2013.
13.
And so we have known her a long time. She is basically a sister at this point. We fight and bicker like siblings anyway, so you know how it goes. But before we get into our question of the week, Brandy, can you tell us a little bit in the audience about what is your attachment to gaming? What is your gaming history? What kind of games do you like? And anything else about yourself, interests, anything of the sort?
Um, I mean, my gaming introduction was probably back at the youth center when I was like 6 growing up. It was before and after care. The PS1, and they had the only game that I can really remember is the snowboarding games. They had
Mm-hmm.
all of them.
Are you talking? Was it a cool?
So
Would it have been Cool Borders? I think on PS1.
No, it was like 1080, wasn't
1080
it?
was 64. I don't know. There might have been a
Was it?
PS1 version of 1080. There might have been.
I don't know what it's called. All I know is that it's snowboarding, and I was like, "Hey, let's try it.
Fair
That's all we
enough.
really can play."
Fair enough.
But that was probably the intro, and then my uncle had a Nintendo 64,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Mario Brothers. It was the Power Rangers game. It was Donkey Kong. So probably spent more time playing games at his house than at the youth center, but definitely Nintendo 64 kind of games. And for some reason, that nostalgic graphic love. So I would go back to playing those any day for some of the newer games.
Hmm.
Interesting. That interestingly enough ties into our question of the week, which is actually tailored to you. So, like I said, I've known Brandy for at this point 12, 13 years, and one of your favorite games, Brandy, is
Mm,
Midnight Club 3.
yes,
Now, here's a
yes,
question
it
for you.
is.
If you had unlimited money and you had free reign of I don't even Rockstar. I think Rockstar did Midnight Club. But you had free reign of whoever made Midnight Club. If you had a choice, would
It was
you rather?
Rockstar.
I thought so. Good old Rockstar. If you had your way, would you rather a bottom to top remake of Midnight Club 3, or would you rather them make a new game in the series?
I want a remake.
Remake, so nothing
I
new.
would want a
So,
remake. I would want a remake because I did Midnight Clubs 3, but then it was also one we played. I mean, through and through and all the way to the end. Midnight Club 3 Dubs Edition
mm-hmm.
remix. Music golden, cars on point. That one, if they did a remake of it, I'd hand out buy it. Yep, I'd get whatever station I needed to buy it too.
Whatever station.
I'd
I'd get an
whatever
X station or a play box. I'll get whatever I need to.
whatever game system I need. I don't care. Yeah.
Okay, so it's because I think I'd agree with you because there are a lot of games getting remakes that really don't need it. But Midnight Club 3, if you talk to people who've been playing games for a long time, Midnight 3 is one that comes up a decent amount as games that are remembered fondly for sure. And I think a big part of that was the music, because when you think Midnight Club 3, like, what's the song that comes into your mind? Because the one that comes into my mind is Real Big.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
real oh yeah.
house real big, cars like that song. It's
Oh yeah.
Ladies, gentlemen, gangsters, pimps.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that is a fantastic soundtrack. And I think I'd agree, because I guess the question you have to ask is, what would a new Midnight Club bring? Like, what would it be doing differently that would modernize it for now? That we would that we're although we're missing arcade racers. Like, let's be
It would
honest.
probably just be visuals, right? I mean, because you couldn't change the style of that game
No,
ever.
no.
So it would have to just be the same, but they'd be able to do it with like the kinds of visuals where you're like, hey, that looks like a real place. And they'd make the cars look better. They'd probably make the sounds more authentic. You know, it's the kinds of tweaks that they can do on modern hardware. Although I'll be honest, if I could have an arcade racer of that time remade, I would personally always choose Need for Speed Underground.
I think a lot of people
Just
would be
because
with you.
there's a lot of people who would agree with me. I feel like you were in one of those two camps at that time, and not honestly, there wasn't
Yeah.
a wrong camp to be in.
Right.
It's simply, I mean, it was either you liked to play one or you liked to play the other. For me, I have so many fond memories of just the different things that you could do in that game and the way that you could customize everything. That game was the reason why I used to want an Acura for the longest time, was because of that stupid game. And I still don't drive an Acura and probably never will, just because I don't really want to. But I mean, it's everything about like that game style. I would love to see it come back, but I mean, Rockstar has been working on the same game for 15 years at this point, and EA disbanded the Need for Speed franchise entirely. So
And Need for
pipe
Speed
dreams are pipe dreams.
is essentially dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also know that another one of your favorite games is Okami. So I would like to pick your brain on because there's a bit of a disparity between like what Midnight Club is and Okami is. So I'm curious, what is it about Okami that draws you to it as being one of your favorite games?
Well, I think for that one, my brother was the one who got me into Okami. He played it first, and just watching him play it, I think I like the story behind it and just the adventures. Midnight Club, you're racing,
It's
earning
straightforward.
money,
Mm-hmm.
getting cars and things like that. So you could play that one pretty endlessly, and it just be the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
Whereas Okami, it was the storyline and trying to figure out where to go, and it was going to be different. I picked it up each time. I could play for hours, and scenery's different. What's going to happen is going to be different. I have to try different things. brushstroke thing, I could do without, just because.
Well, because did you
PS2
play on the
is
Wii? No,
terrible.
PS2. No, I'm.
Yeah,
It was a Wii game.
It was
we had PS2.
There was a PS. Was it?
Which was first? I thought it was Wii
I can
first.
probably go grab the actual case.
I think
we
it was
still have it.
PS2 first, because Wii was with PS3. So I think you used the right stick to control the brush, and then when the Wii came out, it was like, hey, guess what? You can paint with your remote now.
Whip around with. Oh yeah. That
Now-
right stick try to. You're like, I did the motions, and it said, nope. Try again.
So, is there a genre of game where you're just like, nah, not for me, not interested?
So,
I can tell the
so we're
story
gonna go
if you
through
want.
the history of us for a little bit here. So, back, when we first met each other, Towson, playing, was it Biohazard?
Bioshock.
Bioshrock,
Biohazard
is what
would
it's
be a
called.
very different experience, but yes, Bioshock 1.
Whichever one. Bioshock, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Being forced, I'm gonna say forced, because I know I was like forced into this. Forced to play that at night, all lights off, and just said, here, go for it. I don't know what I'm doing.
That sounds right.
I'm not used to first person. Even in like Midnight Club, I wouldn't do the first person view. So like,
I never do that.
no, most of the games, if they had the first person option, I never did it.
Mhm.
So yeah, just being thrown a controller and saying, "Hey, go for it."
So
no,
the
absolutely not.
specific part she is talking about in Bioshock is the very beginning, where Atlas
In the hallway?
is telling you to do the 1-2 punch. And so the 1-2 punch in Bioshock was shoot zap lightning onto a splicer and then whack him with your wrench, and that deals extra damage. So she was sitting there, and I had video evidence of this, of her hitting it.
God.
I'm like, hit R2! Hit R2! And she just shouts back, I am! And then you see her in the video look at the controller and go, oh wait, that's not R2. So, pure panic mode. And then under pressure, speaking of under pressure, later in the game, there's a flaming splicer coming at you. And her grammar, English, flies out of the window because her exact words were, something's flaming coming. Something's flaming coming. As this lit splicer is charging her. And she's just panicking, seizing up. And I'm dying laughing. Because, yeah, of course I didn't tell her what she was getting into. I didn't know when I first played. That's the joy of Bioshock. That's the joy of games.
Oh, warning. Pre-warning would be nice.
Yeah,
you had your wife not your wife at the time, but she was in the back. Some Dementor.
Yeah, she was. That was a time. So, yes, as our audience and you, Darren, can tell, we know each other very well. So I'm curious to see which game you will pick. So, Darren, I will let you start with your game to convince Brandy. Please tell us, what are you doing?
Well, now. So the game that I have chosen is called Entwined. It was developed by Sony. And I sat down to play it last Sunday, which is the day after we record. Finished in about 3 hours. It is not a long game, but it is intentionally not a long game. And Brandy, when you and I were just talking prior to us starting to record, I described this game as more of what I would say is an art project than a game itself. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. I say it in a way of the studio developed something that was exactly what they wanted it to be. And that was all there was to it. So at its core, Entwined is a story without any narrative at all. And you embody a fish and a bird. The fish, I believe, is your left thumbstick. The bird is the right thumbstick. And the only bit of information you get is that they are in love with each other, but destined to be apart forever because of simply they live in different worlds, right? One live in the sea, one live in the sky. And so then what the game becomes is you play through 9 lifetimes of the bird and the fish. And each lifetime is more or less a reflex-based rhythm game, where as you control the sticks, you have to make the fish or the bird pass through gates in order to charge up a meter. Once you charge up the meter, in that lifetime, they end up merging together to become a dragon, where you can take them through this like thematic, very uh, polygonal, shape-based location that kind of tells you the story of where they are. So in one, it's just a giant forest. In one, it's a theme park and there's a Ferris wheel you go through. In one, it's an area near a volcano. At its core, it is very much a rhythm game, but it's not that you're pressing buttons to the rhythm. They have to pass through the gates, and the gates are passed through in the rhythm. Each one of the lifetimes has a different music track that plays with it. And this game came out in 2014, so it's very synth driven. But it's I would call it more like, God, if there was a 2014 spiritual successor to whatever genre of music Enya would be with no vocals. So like that kind of music that you would potentially play in a classroom when you want the kids to just focus on something.
Ooh.
Right? It's I would call it maybe like a tech lo-fi is probably not an incorrect way of describing it as well. But in each one of these, you're having the fish and the bird, and most of the time their movements are completely mirrored. Right? So it's a little challenging. Can you separate your left hand from your right hand? It's probably good for people who need to be able to do that. But as you pass through each lifetime, each version ends with the union of the fish and the bird to become the dragon, where you get to just control it through this little stage. You pick up these little orbs that eventually leads you to the end of what the stage is. But they manage to find each other in every single lifetime, culminating to a thing at the end that's actually like really quite pretty and somewhat powerful for the fact that, again, this is a completely wordless narrative game. And so in all, the 3 hours that I spent on the game was spent almost becoming really attached to the result of this fish and this bird, even though there was nothing. There's no writing, there's no nothing. It is simply music, a blue gate and an orange gate that you have to control with 2 separate thumbs, and then what happens at the end. And that was all there was to it. But it's a game that I've ended up like thinking about more than I potentially should, because I mean there's no shortage of ways that you could parallel that to life, right? The two people who, for whatever reason, are always separated in some way, finding each other again. Or like the person and the thing that they're super passionate about being separated because life takes you in a different direction than you plan, and you still end up in the same place doing the same things, right? So there's so many like weird parallels that you can draw that this game can just apply to different parts of your life kind of whenever. But the fact that these two found each other in 9 separate lifetimes, meaning that like no matter what happens, like if you're supposed to be either with somebody or doing a thing, it's just gonna happen. And some power, in this case the player, will make sure that happens to make it so. So it honestly, for the almost nothing that this game really truly kind of is, it is potentially one of the most beautiful and impactful stories that I've ever experienced, while simultaneously doing nothing but leaving it up to the player imagination. And so for you, as somebody who's kind of got a weird amalgamation of gaming history, right, but also not somebody who has a ton of time on your hands given your relative role, this is something that can potentially be something you can just sit down and dissociate for 3 hours, which is kind of nice. But something that you may take things from that I didn't. right, which can potentially be used in your personal or professional life simply as like a hey, watch this, tell me what you think, and then it could become a whole series of discussions. You know what I mean? Like it's it's like your middle school English class making you hyper analyze every word
I
from
was gonna
a
say.
passage of prose that may or may not actually be the case, but you have to annotate it because the state of Maryland told you to. So like you might as well, right? But you can
Right.
get as pretentious about it as you want. And in that end, like it's so open ended in how you interpret it that it's really quite impressive what they managed to accomplish for as effectively little as there is there. And so I kind of wish that the game had been longer simply to play through more levels and have more music, to be honest. Um, but the roller coaster that it kind of took you on with the differences in the tracks and the way that it creatively uses like crescendos and time signature changes and it just everything about it, it's a wonderful piece of art that you get to experience in the form of a video game. And I would recommend it for anybody who has even a modicum of interest in just something that is more than just a game, but is actually an experience.
Right.
That sounds really interesting. I will tell you, at one point in your description, instantly in my head popped Secret Tunnel from Avatar.
Secret tunnel.
Because they always come back
It's
together.
kind of how it feels.
But,
That's kind of how it feels.
So,
But I
any,
mean, it's go ahead.
well, no, go ahead. I was just gonna ask Brand if she had any follow up thoughts, how
Mm.
she felt about it. Any other follow up questions that you have about what he described?
I mean, not really. It sounds pretty straightforward with is that it's not wordless narrative. I'm really interested in like the music aspect of it,
I am too.
like the rhythm part.
It's very interesting. I've not played. I call it it's a rhythm game only very loosely, in that the gates you pass through do follow the song rhythmically. Um, but even how they lead you into the game, like I didn't select start game at the beginning. I selected how to play.
Okay.
So it teaches you how to play and then immediately just dumps you in to the game. So the tutorial just leads into the game. I didn't even actually realize that I was playing the game until I had cleared the first lifetime.
Okay.
And so it really is. It's like a full almost I've seen music exhibit or excuse me, museum exhibits that follow a similar kind of style where you're in and you don't even necessarily realize you're in and then all of a sudden you've consumed everything that there is to consume and you're at the end. And then it stays with you depending on the degree to which you allowed it to.
About how long would you say
Right.
each lifetime was?
That depends on how much you mess up.
True.
If you
How
mess
do
up, it
you
takes
mess up?
longer.
What
But
does
yeah,
messing
how
up look
it's
like?
You miss the gates. You miss the gates. So
mm,
there's a bar as you progress. There's a bar that fills up at the top, but as you miss gates, you lose bar.
Mm-hmm. Do you
And
get
so
any?
as you lose bar, then you have to play longer.
Mm,
There's no. I never experienced a fail state. It's simply you go until you fill up your bar, and then become dragon next lifetime.
I mean, like you said, like the
So
whole like the dexterity that you would need to do both.
it's not too bad.
Okay.
Because, like I said, they're pretty much parallel movements. Occasionally, they're mirrored movements, so up and down. Sometimes there is a time delay on it where you start one and then have to start the other one slightly later. But I mean, if you have like a modicum of rhythm, it's not too hard to figure out. I don't necessarily recommend playing through it all at once simply because like my thumbs kind of hurt from being on the sticks for that long and doing like specific round movements. But like that's a me thing.
Okay.
But no, it was compelling and it was truly, I would say, more art that you just simply got to play. That's my story.
sticking to it. All right. So
Okay. Save judgment.
my game is a game all about holes. My game
By
Pause.
Shia LaBeouf.
is Donut
Pause.
County. No, I don't do that here. I know what I said. I'm sticking to it. So Donut County is a
Sticking
game
to his holes.
where it's a short game, and
Did you beat it too?
I didn't, only because so for those listening or watching, it was pre-service week for teachers in our county this past week, and for most schools in our state. And so I spent the last week setting up my library, helping people with issues they had tech-wise, and I told Darren this on Monday. By 10 o'clock, I think I had like 9,000 steps because of all the walking around my school I had to do to help different people. So this week has been a whirlwind. So no, honestly, I could have, but I was so mentally drained. I was like, I'm just gonna do as much as I can. But my game is short. It is only like a 2 to 3 hour game. It's about as long as Entwined is. It's really not long. But the premise is that you start the game reading a text between a girl and a raccoon. And the raccoon owns a donut shop. And people buy donuts from this donut shop. And the strangest thing happens when people buy donuts from the donut shop. When they buy donuts from the donut shop, the area, a random hole appears in the ground near the place where they're living. And that hole is going around just making things fall into it. That hole is you. You are controlling the hole in this game. This game is so silly. So silly, and I loved every second of it. I belly laughed a couple of times. Like, your opening text between the girl and the raccoon, you have two options. You can either reply, or you can send a duck emoji. I kept pressing the duck emoji over and over again, and the raccoon kept responding with its own duck emoji. But it was done with such good comedic timing. You'd think duck sound, duck emoji, whatever, but it was done with such comedic timing because you would see the little prompt that pops up when you see that they're sending a message. So he'd send the duck sound and the duck emoji, and then you'd see that bubble pop up like he's sending a message, and then it would just be another duck emoji, like perfectly timed. And I did that for probably, I'm not going to say, I'm ashamed. I did it for way too long, because part of me was like, maybe there's an achievement for doing this, and two, maybe there's something secret hidden if I send this enough. There wasn't. I just kept doing it for way too long until I pressed reply. But the conversation between the girl and the raccoon was so well written and so funny. And so the premise of the game is the hole pops up and you use the left stick. This is a 2 control scheme game. Left stick to move the circle, A to move dialogue forward. That's it. And at the beginning of the game, the hole sucks up where the girl is, and she falls into this pit that's 999 feet below the Earth's surface. And you fall down, and they're all sitting around this campfire 999 feet below the ground, and it's all the people that have fallen into this hole. And the premise of the game is clearly the raccoon is the one behind the holes that are appearing, because everybody who happens to buy a donut from the raccoon, a hole just happens to appear near their house. But the writing's so funny because it's the kind of writing, I don't know how to describe this, but the writing is like the raccoon, or somebody will mention something about the hole, and the raccoon's like, oh my gosh, who would do something like, it was like the hole sucked up my pond with my bird in it, and the raccoon would be like, oh my gosh, who would do, that's terrible, who would ever do something like that person's a jerk. Like, It's that kind of humor, and it was so well done. But the premise of the game is the people around this campfire are like, yeah, like this hole just appeared. I bought a donut from you, and this hole appeared, and then it'll go back to the surface, and then each level is how each person that fell down got there. And the way it works is you start with a small hole. Have you ever heard or played Katamari Damacy? The game with the
No.
little green alien looking dude who pushes the ball around and it gets bigger as he pushes it around.
I've probably seen maybe a few before, but I've never played it.
You might have, but it's a very similar idea that the hole in the ground, it starts off small, and it's pretty much a puzzle game. Your job is to go around finding objects to make fall into the hole, and as they fall in, the hole gets bigger. So your job is pretty much figuring out what order to make things fall in. It's physics based, and then you later get into puzzles. Like one was if there was a body of water and stuff in the water, so in order to suck that up, you had to figure out a way to get the water out of the hole. And so it is a very simple, quick, funny puzzle game. And it's so easy to control. The music's very jaunty and lighthearted and fits the mood perfectly because you're not intended to take this game seriously at all. And yeah, I think the only downside is there's not a lot to say, only because there's not there's not a ton to it. You're a hole in the ground, you make things fall into it. There's funny dialogue in between the levels, and that's basically what the game is.
So you said you didn't finish it, but about how many levels did you get through?
Like five or six, I think. The levels themselves, because what it'll do is you start sucking things down, and when you finish an area, the camera will like zoom out, and then it'll show an even bigger area, so your hole is small again, even though it's the same size, but it looks smaller, so you have to find other things to make fall down so that you can get everything in the area. But each level probably takes you like, if that long, 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Like, they're not long, and it's just like as a as an educator, you know, sometimes at the end of the day, you just and this is the case for most jobs, but you just want to go home at the end of the day, and you just want to be. And this is a turn your brain off type of game, to the point where my son was able to, who's 3.5, was able to understand the idea of how to play the game. Like, he couldn't, because but he understood the idea of how to play and enjoys playing it because it's just funny. It's just fun. It's turn your brain off and just make some things fall in a hole. You know?
I could see him just like take the little joystick around and just
Yeah, I was like, hey dude,
laughing
go.
and giggling.
Yeah. Go make that rock. And he was like, Dad, what do I do? And I'm like, all right, well, you did it. You just, I guess, weren't aware that you did it. But we on the show, I don't know if you've listened to episodes where we've mentioned it, but it's put down, pick up. Like, if you get busy during the week and you just put down, can you pick it back up? Like, the story and mechanics are so, it is 2-button mechanics. Move the hole, press A to move the dialogue forward. That's it. And you're not going to forget that. And the story is, how did all these holes appear? You're not going to forget that story at all.
He's got a devilish raccoon.
Yeah, it's always the raccoon. I want to say his name is RK. I think is his name. But you learn a little bit about each character, and the in between levels is just like, yeah, I was doing this and I ordered a donut from you and this hole appeared by my house, and yeah, each level is just how everything fell into the hole.
Okay. Huh. Question for Darren: like, so your game, is that like a put down, pick up as well?
Sure. You can pick up. I would typically say, hey, you finish a lifetime, put it down, pick it up later. I mean, there's no narrative, but it is a narrative. So, like,
Yeah.
fish and bird become one dragon. Next lifetime, fish and bird become one dragon.
Now,
So yeah,
I do
you
And
have
do
a
another
whatever.
question.
one.
I do have a question for you, Darren. Like, what was different about each, other than the music, and I guess maybe the
Mm.
background? Were there differences between each thing as you went through, like different
There
ways to
were
go through the gates or
so
anything?
no. You just at the end of the day, you make your icon pass through the gate depending on
Sure.
your thumbstick. The gates themselves would be shaped differently, and each level would have different patterns to how they threw gates at you. So every level did feel distinct and different, even though you were fundamentally doing the same thing. So
Huh.
like one level might have one where you have to it's a series of like 10 gates and you have to guide it through all 10 of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Another one might have a bunch of like alternating red blue gates, but you can only have red pass through red and blue pass through blue and they would be rotating like this. So you had
Mm.
to, time for that and plan that. So it actually did make you think a decent bit. Really a pretty decent brain exercise for the sake of coordination and getting things together.
Hmm.
But again, at its crux, I mean, they managed to make 9 distinct levels feel different in a game that is just about as fundamentally simple as you can possibly have it be.
Or do they progressively get harder with, like you said, like some of them move, some of them are like more continuous, just kind of just different.
I would say difficulty is really dependent on like your brain might work different than mine. Right. So some of the later level, honestly, the middle lifetimes to me, the way that those gates had patterns, those were more difficult for my coordination to agree with.
Mm.
Whereas that might not be the case for you. You might not have problems with any of them. You might find that some of the ones at the beginning are more difficult than some of the ones at the end, or vice versa. I can't really predict that. It's just for whatever reason, there were certain patterns for me that my brain just couldn't either my thumbs were moving too fast or I thought they were moving too fast and they were actually not moving fast enough or um
So
and then
it
you're trying to
didn't.
pay attention to both thumbsticks at the same time. So I mean the difficulty is probably dependent person to person.
I was gonna say, so it doesn't
Okay,
get objectively harder. It just,
It's different.
yeah.
it's different.
Hmm.
Okay.
It's not like you're going through like a bullet hell type gates that you're like frantically trying to jump through because again I would say one of the primary themes of the game is harmony, both musical and between the fish and bird. So like there's only to make that actually be a recurring theme, you can only have so much chaos.
Yeah. There's definitely some chaos in, but like funny chaos and not overwhelming chaos in Donut County, because one level you have to get chickens to fall into the hole, but the chickens aren't just running around. They're in different parts of the area and you have to do different things to make them come down so that they can fall in. Another one was like there was a level with snakes, but the snakes are so wiggly that if you put the hole on them they jump and like straighten up. So having a straight rod go into your hole, not super easy when it can also move and jump. So you had to figure out how to get them to sit still or fall in. So yeah, I think depends on your tolerance for
Pause.
chaos. I said what I said. There's no other way to talk about this game. I said what I said. I said what I meant. I meant what I said. I flipped that backwards, but whatever.
You said what you said.
I said what I said. I have no shame here.
And what you said was sometimes it's hard to get the stiff rod into the hole. Don't we know it? Really sums up my
This
20s.
is this is a family show, okay?
How do families get made? I mean,
Sorry, mom. So
I'm not.
so yeah, I mean, any other questions? Anything you're wondering, or anything that stands out to you about either one?
I mean, both games seem very like simplistic in just nature,
Yeah.
and what they are. Um, I think in their own way, each of their own way, like cozy in a way. They just seem really good games. I would probably play both, but no other questions.
Okay. All right.
But there
The
is
moment
one
of
that wins out over.
Okay. I'm curious. The moment of truth. Randy, if you had to pick one game out of the two we've presented, please tell us which one it is.
Probably would be Entwined.
Ah!
It would probably be Entwined just because, like, I'm thinking the time that we're in, about to start school, about to start teaching again, I don't want to hear anything. I would rather, like, no talking. I'd rather just simple music. I could see myself just playing on a rainy Saturday or even like right after work. And there are moments where I drive home with nothing.
Fair
No
enough.
music, no podcasts, no books, no nothing. And I
Except
don't want to
ours.
talk to anybody either. But I could definitely do, I think, Entwined after getting home and just decompressing. If that's the kind, like you're saying, techno lo-fi kind of music, oh yeah.
Fair enough. I will say, I'll take the L, but I did. There is no actual voice dialogue. It's all reading. But I doubt that would
That's too
change
much
your mind.
work.
Yeah.
That's too much work. I don't want to read anything. I
You
would
know-
just click, 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 click.
Just skip through dialogue. Bump dialogue. I want game.
I don't want
All
Duck
right.
I
emoji.
just want a simple game.
I'm 2-0. Dang. I got to step up my game. I don't know what I'm doing.
You
But
know me so well.
I know. Apparently not enough. No. I so I now that we've done our convincing, it's time to talk about something that doesn't really affect you, Brandy, but I'm curious to get your take on it. It doesn't affect really any of the three of us directly. But Brandy, growing up, when you there's a subreddit called Patient Gamers, which is an entire subreddit dedicated to people who pride themselves in like waiting for sales and discounts on popular games. And what they'll do is they'll occasionally post like, "Hey, this popular game is on this discount. If you waited, now's the time." Which that's a good thing because I think in the state of gaming, a lot of games are coming out incomplete and not finished at all.
Mm.
But growing up, if you were to be patient and wait on, say, getting a new console or getting a new game, Brandy, what would typically happen if you waited long enough for a console or game to buy it? It would become
Go on sale.
go on sale, become cheaper.
Yeah.
Just about a week ago, just a few days ago, as of recording this, Sony has announced a $50 price hike across all of their PS5 platforms. PS5, PS5 Pro, and PS5 Digital. All of them,
Consoles?
all of them, yep, all of their consoles are increasing their price by $50. The PS5 came out 2020, I think. 2019. It was 2020. November 12th, 2020. Now, that was 5 years ago, Brandy. And I don't know if you know this, but in the console life cycle, nowadays, the life cycle is typically like 6 to 7 years before the new console comes out. Like the PS6, next Xbox. So we are 5 years into the life cycle of the PS5, and they are raising the price by $50. As an adjacent gamer, because you're not like in the gaming landscape, but you play games. I'm curious. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think of that choice?
Wildly insane. Because I mean, are they not intending to come out with the PS6 then if they're going to increase the price?
They are.
Because I can't. At this point, I would think PS5 should be even cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
If you are gearing up to and come out with another game, like another console, the next level, just like with, I mean, I would think that the Switch, because I know the price for that one, second one was up there.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a first one for cheaper. They didn't increase the prices.
I think
The
they
first one.
I think they kept it, but they did not increase the price of the OG Switch in OLED, I don't believe.
All right. I would want to know why. Why is it an elitist kind of thing to say like, oh, you have a PS5? At this point, being 5 years, 5 years, almost 6 years in, how elitist can you try to hold yourself to be? Because 50 extra dollars? No, absolutely not.
Oh, and it is specifically in the United States. So this is from the PlayStation blog, so directly from PlayStation. Similar to many global businesses, we continue to navigate a challenging economic environment. As a result, we've made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price for PS5 consoles in the US. The updated recommended retail price for PS5 consoles are as follows. The base PS5 is $550, so it was 5. PS5 digital is $500, it was $450, and then PS5 Pro is $750, it was originally $700. The recommended retail prices for accessories is unchanged, and we have no other price changes to announce for any other markets.
Wow. For economical reasons, they are increasing it $50. But like I said, have they announced a plan for the PS6 at all?
Not officially. There's a lot of leaks, a lot of rumors
Mm-hmm.
and or leaks, but no official announcement from Sony stating that the PlayStation 6 is imminent. Based on history, we suspect it is not impossible that we would see the PS6 as early as next year.
Mm.
Whether or not that is the case, but typically speaking, I want to say, what did we say that it was like 6 years into
The
the life cycle is when we see it?
PS4 to PS5 was about 6, maybe 7 years. I can't remember often. No, PS4
So
was 2014, so it was 6 years. Yep.
So I mean, we could see potentially an announcement of PS6
At the Game Awards, maybe, depending. Because that's when
at
the
the Game
Xbox
Awards, yeah,
Series X was announced.
with potentially a late Q2, early Q3 26 release.
Mm.
So,
As long as they
potentially...
give us more than 6 weeks like the Switch 2 did, God bless.
Yeah, did you hear about that, Brandy? When they announced the Switch 2, it was like 2 months out from it releasing. They're like, hey, by the way, this new console that people really, really want, it's coming out in 2 months. I hope you saved up money for it. You know.
I know people were going crazy for it.
You know what's funny, though? They did that, and when the PS5, Series X, and I think the Switch, because I think I waited on a Switch, when they came out, you couldn't find them anywhere for months after they released.
Switches, I remember you could.
It might have. I don't remember too much about getting this. Well, when
I don't remember having any difficulties getting the Switch at all, and I got it on launch.
Fair.
The PS5 and the Series X were a nightmare to get on launch.
But with the Switch 2, they announced it so close to its actual release, you could go on any online website for the most part. You could just buy one right now. And it's only been
I
out
think
for
that's more credit
a
to
month?
Nintendo.
2 months?
That's more
Month and a
credit
half?
to Nintendo, though. Because if you remember at that time, there was such a supply chain issue with some of the chips that were required to produce the consoles that, I mean, the PS5 struggled to meet its production goals, I think, for the first 3 or 4 years of its life cycle, which has been most of its life cycle. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little more to it than that. We have to be a bit less myopic with that.
Okay, SIT.
That being said, yeah, get over it. I mean, that being said, if it's more expensive to now ship a PS5 into the country, then it stands to reason that its price is going to go up.
But what does that
I
mean
mean,
for the
that's
Yeah.
PS6?
That's what I say. I can
buckle
only
up,
imagine.
Buttercup.
Like, because, Brandy, I don't know if you know this. Were you aware, or do you remember, or do you know how much the PS3 released for on launch back in 06?
I'm
It
gonna probably say a
released...
number that's at 250.
That's adorable.
Oh,
PS3 released for $600
Oh, wow.
600.
in
Released the
2006. So now, in 2006, that would be like releasing a console for a price of $961 right now.
And that's probably what the PS6 will end up costing, if not $1,000.
You stop that.
in
You
my
stop
opinion.
that. You stop that right now. Don't you dare. Because if that's the case, I'm just going to buy like a high-end gaming PC. I'll spend the extra little bit and get a high-end 10-year proof gaming PC at that point. Bump that. Bump that.
I mean, you're saying that PS3 at release in 2006 was $600,
Now,
and right now,
there was a huge amount of backlash. And so a little bit after release, they're like, okay, our bad. And so they did lower it. Meaning that it did not need to be $600
what do they lower it to?
4.
for.
Okay, they lowered it by 200. Okay, so you might can get a PS6 700
See,
to 800.
to be fair, there was also the PlayStation 3 was the first console with Blu-ray. So it was actually one of the first Blu-ray players that ever existed in the commercial
do remember
space,
that.
as far as I recall. So like that's when the transition really began.
Because
So I
the
can't
three-
imagine that technology was cheap at the
Because the
time because it
360
was
tried to use HD DVD.
HD DVD.
Hey, Brandy, how many HD DVD boxes do you own?
I believe I got one that came with my 360.
You did?
0.
I believe I had one at one point in time. That's
If you go on
HD DVD. Oh, well, actually, there might be one somewhere.
HD DVD, you can get Blade Runner on HD DVD.
300. You could get 300.
Wow. You can watch those abs in super high def.
2001: A Space Odyssey, Too Fast, Too Furious, Accepted. That's a great movie.
Except
Aeon
it's
We
garbage.
actually
Flux,
might have one
A
that's like
Christmas
an HD
Story,
DVD.
That's our collection right up there. It's all DVDs and Blu-rays.
Anchorman. Anchorman was HD DVD.
Not a single HD DVD in sight.
Ours are in the basement. I don't know.
Oh man, the
What's
timeless comedy classics, Balls of Fury and Beer Fest.
Okay.
Two of my favorite movies.
Those movies were not reviewed well, but I don't care what anybody says. They're hilarious.
Both of them, incredible. Beer Fest, all of the Broken Lizard movies are comedy gold.
Yeah. But we are not going to keep our audience any longer. Brandy, is there anything that you'd like to say before signing off? You did make me lose, so that's fine. But what do you?
You lost it for yourself, Ryan.
I did.
2 times.
Don't rub it in.
No, him never.
I ain't gotta say nothing.
We're
I'm
gonna
just make
watch
my faces.
We're gonna watch To Be Hero tonight. I'm just gonna hear a voice off to the side just go 2-0. Hey, right, what did that sub say?
To be hero.
To be here 0. To be 0.
Be 0. Yep.
Oh no.
Ridiculous.
But yes, thank you for joining us, Brandy. You are a delight as always. It was wonderful having you on our show. If you ever want to come back, we can try and convince you again if you're interested.
Okay.
Do you have a way to... Actually, I didn't ask this at the beginning. What consoles do you have access to currently?
The Switch 2, definitely. No, not Switch 2, sorry. Switch, not Switch 2.
I was
Switch.
going to say, when did you get a Switch 2?
Oh my gosh, no, I'm not buying that. Especially after hearing how much the games cost. Absolutely not. No.
No.
Just one. Just the one. Just the one.
For now.
Switch. Xbox. I think it's the PS4.
Which Xbox do you have? The most recent one, the big fridge monolith one.
No, I think it's a 360. You gave it to me.
Oh, that it was the 360, and it has it red ringed.
Yeah.
Let's go.
PS4, that means she was already destined to play Entwined. Because it
Yeah,
was a
because
PS4 game.
it was. You could go play it right now.
I have to go get it now.
You could not
I
play
can
Donut
actually-
County. Actually, no, you can.
Nope.
It's on the Switch. I lied. But
But see, where's Donut County?
on the Switch.
Okay. Right now, Switch is Dreamlight Valley.
That's true. Are you still playing that?
Hmm?
Nice.
I pick it up, play it for a couple days, and then I don't play it for weeks.
That's what.
Pick it up, and I'm like, oh, what's new?
That's what the wife does. But thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate you giving us any of your day. And next episode, I will be convincing Darren to try a game called Abiotic Factor, developed by Deepfield Games. The only other game by them I could find is called Unfortunate Spaceman, which, I'm not going to lie, sounds like a game title that an elementary schooler created. But it's probably really fun. Who knows? Darren, what are you going to be doing?
It sounds hilarious. I will be playing Sword of the Sea, published by Giant Squid, famous for the, I feel like it's not absurd to say, cult classic game Abzu.
Abzu is basically Journey, but underwater.
Yes, indeed.
So, thank you for listening. If you would like to find us, our social medias are, my brain does not work. I was going to try and go in Darren's screen and point down. That doesn't work. But over here, on that side, you will see our social medias, Convince Me Gaming, Convince Me Media. Find us anywhere. Send comments, send suggestions, send feedback. We appreciate just talking about games in any time you have for us. With that said, Brandy, do you know how we sign off?
Are you convinced yet?
Adios.